Welcome to Evolutionary Underground Supplements, episode 21 coming your way. Today we're talking about the best supplements to naturally boost testosterone. So in this episode, Mobster and I are going to discuss the best supplements to naturally boost testosterone. We're also going to get into talking about modern testosterone levels. We're talking about why test boosting on cycle is important. It's obviously
Yep.
important on cycle and off cycle. We're going to go over each of the top supplements of 2024 when it comes to boosting testosterone and how you should be using them together for best
Yep.
synergy by using a product called HCGenerate. So we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to get you taken care of on this. Let's first talk about modern testosterone levels. And part of the reason testosterone levels have been dropping, a big reason is these chemicals, these forever chemicals. You can go in your house and look around and look under your sink, and you've got chemicals that don't belong in your house that are under your sink. You've got chemicals in your water that don't belong in the water. You got
No.
chemicals in your food that don't belong in your body.
Yep.
Um, Unfortunately, you're showering with this water, you're drinking this water, you're eating this food, and what's happening is that it's causing our testosterone levels to drop and drop and drop. And we're actually dealing with a sperm crisis as well because
Oh God. Yeah.
fertility levels are
Yep.
crashing as well. So
Yep.
we're basically a victim of our own success. And look, at the end of the day, being able to turn on your tap and having an ever flowing amount of water and having an ever flowing amount of showers. I mean, people take 3, 4, 5 showers a day, hot showers.
Mm.
That's a blessing that our ancestors never had. And that's a
No.
blessing that many people around the world don't have, Mobster. I've been to third world countries and I've taken showers. And you know what people had to do for me to take a shower? They had to take buckets, right? Up and down stairs and dump it into the
That's
thing
crazy.
to get the plumbing. And it's just like you feel bad, because you don't have that in America. In America, you just take a 20-minute shower and it's not a big deal. So we're kind of a victim of our own success when it comes to this. And we have to realize that, we have to take better care of our planet. And unfortunately, it's not going in the right direction. Um, the way we're basically billionaires are taking over the world, oligarchs are taking over the world. Most of the world now is run by dictators and billionaires. So it's not going to change. So at the end of the day, you have to, and that's the oligarchs calling me right now. They want my head for saying this. But what's going to end up happening is that you have to control your own shit. You have to be aware of what you're putting into your body. You have to be aware of what's going on. You have to correct it because
Yes.
nobody is going to correct it. You can't depend on mommy and daddy to correct it for you because mommy and daddy have been brainwashed by the corporations their whole lives. You can't depend on the government to help you because the government is run by the billionaires and the oligarchs. And you can't depend on the corporations to do it because they just want to make money. So this isn't conspiracy shit, guys. I'm not a conspiracy person. Mobster surely isn't a conspiracy person. We hate that shit.
God, no. No, 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 no.
But this is the facts. And we
Yeah.
see this all the time. So, and I'm living proof of this because when I was in my early 20s, I learned this and I've been able to since I switched to organic eating, whole food eating. I watched the water I was putting in my body. I watched the food I was putting in my body. And I've been able to correct things and I was able to get my testosterone levels from being in the 300s up to the 800, 900s naturally just
Yep.
by making sure that I'm putting the right stuff in my body. I don't keep chemicals in my house. I don't have a pool, okay, a chlorine infested pool that I'm swimming in every day, right? That you jump in and you inhale all that chlorine and it absorbs into your skin and you wonder why you're sick all the time from the chlorine. I don't do that. If I'm going to have a pool, it's going to be a saltwater pool. I'm going to pay the extra money to have a saltwater pool, but I'm not going to have a chlorine pool. You know what I'm saying? So these are little things that you should be doing in your life. Making sure you eat organic, growing your own food. This way, you know what you're doing. Don't spray shit around your house. Don't spray
Mm.
pesticides and herbicides. All these little things make a difference, and all these little things will help your testosterone levels get higher. Mobster?
Let me jump in here with two simple facts that you and I have referred to when we've talked about testosterone in other shows. And I challenge the listener to find out that we're lying when I say these two facts. And then I arguably, this is how fucked up this shit is, Steve. Both these numbers have come from the governments in the UK, the government in America, etc. So I believe one, and I might be a little bit wary in terms of the factual bits and pieces, but the overall thing you can double check, guys, just to clarify the information I'm giving you. I think an early version of the FDA was going off, and I think it was something stupid like potatoes, Steve. And it applies to all fresh fruit and vegetables. So the story goes thus: that they went off in the 1950s and they would take samples of farmers across America's potatoes, and then they would take the potato back to the lab and test for the nutrient quality, the mineral, the how many minerals was in there, how many milligrams per 100 grams of this local produced potato, and so on and so forth. How much carbohydrate, how much moisture, and so on and so forth. And they did this every so many years from the 1950s up till now. And you can go back and look at the mineral quality, the organic, how local it was, how much pesticides were involved in the production and growth of this potato. This is all different kinds of potato. And the mineral quality, the health benefits of the 1950s potato produced across America, and there's obviously many species, many variants of potato, was better then than it is now. And it has gradually got worse. I think this is one of those, again, guys, you can challenge me on the numbers. Fine. I think there's something stupid like 4,000 different versions of potatoes. But what happens is, for various reasons, probably to do with the buying power of the supermarkets or whatever else, I think basically we have in most supermarkets pretty much, I think, 7 of these variants. So there's probably another 3,900 and something variants that are only grown in people's allotments or in their backyards or on very small organic farms. The great and vast majority of what you're able to get comes down to pretty much 7 main variants of potato in the supermarkets. That's pretty much what we're having. And the big thing for that would have been that the mineral quality, the organic quality would have been pretty much local. We can buy food in the supermarkets that's flown, mind you, never mind shipped, around the world. Avocados, there's almost a joke with regards to the fuel that's required to produce an avocado and bring it so you can have it for breakfast on toast. It's almost a meme, Steve. The amount of diesel that the ship's required to ship it to you, and you're talking about pollution and shit. There's an argument to be made for the modern perception of stress. So the stress of our granddads and great granddads would have been because of the fucking war, World War I, World War II. The literally 1930s, 1940s, when no one had a job. To come back from the war, there was no jobs in America. Guys walking dusty roads to go to the farm to try and get a job, versus us getting stressed because of something we read on Facebook. A perception of stress. The younger people, it's almost impossible for them to buy properties. Younger people are opting to not have kids. I think it's down 30%, Steve. So the stress, the chemicals that arguably used in the 60s and 70s that have leached down into the middle of America's soil and gone down as far as the water table. So now you have to have a filter in your house. Otherwise, you'll be drinking that shit, as Steve said. The chemicals, as Steve said again, that we keep in the house that previously would never have been kept in the house. They were in a shed in your garden or in an outhouse or some sort of outbuilding. It certainly wasn't kept in your kitchen next to your food and sprayed around the room while you're preparing food. It goes on and on, Steve. The things that we feel that we need, our ability to fight diseases, some diseases, because we've become almost anal with regard to cleanliness, and it's actually affected our ability to have a strong immune system. And then that's without, as Steve said as well, the choices that we make and the food that's available to us in supermarkets, again, the ready meals with glucose syrup, food that's been half prepared. If you and I, Steve, make some sausages, you and I say, fuck it, we're going to produce some sausages to eat for ourselves. There's probably going to be like 6 ingredients versus reading the label of a pack of sausages. And I'm just using this as an example, guys, where Let me give you another example. I've just thought of one, Steve. I've got this shortcake, white chocolate shortcake thing that I sometimes have after my evening meal, and it talks about choice ingredients on the front. And then when you turn it over, there's 40 fucking ingredients listed on the back. If you made it, it would be 6 or 7 ingredients. If we made sausages for ourselves, it would be 6 or 7 ingredients. Versus the need to preserve this and they've got to look the same the whole time it's on the shelf in the supermarket. We know that it's time loss, that we should be eating organic. Oh, it's a bit more expensive. Oh, I've got to go to this special place to buy it, and so on. And yet the reality of the situation is, and this is a second example. And again, I think this information came from the government. So at the same time as it was out there for testing potatoes, they were taking samples of people's testosterone levels. Again, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on. Your dad, your granddad, and your great granddaddy had higher testosterone levels than you've got. They worked local, they ate locally produced foods. Arguably, their stress levels should have been higher than yours, but your perception of stress levels is worse. They had arguably less chemicals to deal with, even the poor fuckers that were down the coal mines, out at sea fishing, deep sea fishing, crab fishing, deep sea fishing, you name it. And all the other real life stress, actual proper hard work, graft, calluses on your hand kind of stuff, versus the modern stuff. And yet their testosterone levels were better. So there's this whole thing. And again, how many more people live in cities, Steve? I think it's like 80% or nearly 90% of the population live in cities, and only 10, 20% are living outside of cities in small towns and in the countryside. So you're just around pollution all the time. You're around stress and aggravation all the time. You're not eating as well as you should. And generation upon generation, the testosterone levels are falling. So here's the reason why there's an immense popularity, and specifically in bodybuilding, of course, and weight training and strength training, etc. In huge popularity for, and it's I would argue that most supplement companies should have at least one testosterone boosting product, but we're going to talk about the daddy in a minute, in their product line, simply, and of course, it's a great reason why there's been a growth in life extension clinics and TRT clinics. So talk a little bit about that, Steve, and just the need and the popularity of these kind of products for the modern generation.
Yeah, and what's the other factor too in this, besides everything we've talked about, another reason the guys in their 20s have lower testosterone than everyone else is because they have all this disposable income. Mommy and daddy give them money. They can go online and set up an OnlyFans or whatever and make money on the internet. You've got guys making, $50,000, $100,000 a year just from side gigs now. So, and that's great. But here's the thing. They have the money. You can go online. You can buy steroids. Steroids are easier than ever to get. They're starting to use steroids in their teens. I've talked to so many teenagers, Monster. I've talked to so many teenagers. They're lost, you know, because of social media. They go on social media and you have all these clowns on social media with all these views and they listen to them and they want to be like them and they trust them, right? They trust them more than they trust their own fucking parents. They trust them more than they trust us, Mobster.
Steve, I literally saw a post yesterday on a fitness type page on Facebook, and a buddy of mine, Keith Williams, replied. So I saw his reply, and that's what got my attention.
Yeah, so they're listening, but they're
He's
listening.
20, sorry, Steve, 23 years of age and on TRT.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
particular social media
they're
influencer.
they're basically listening to the bros online, which are they're very good marketers and they're very good scammers. And they're convincing them to get on these pro hormones. They're convincing them to get on these steroids at a younger and younger age. And these kids have the money to buy it. When I was their age, I didn't have money to buy steroids, even
Oh,
if
it's
I had
cheaper now
access.
than it's ever been. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheaper because, like they have all this money now, especially these kids in the suburbs. They have all this money from mommy and daddy. They're driving $60,000 trucks around, doing
Yeah.
stupid shit, flicking people. There's videos every day about them. There's a kid flicking people off in telling someone to go fuck themselves. He's driving like a $60,000, $70,000 truck, Mobster. When I was his age, I was driving like a $4,000 Hyundai, and now
Yeah.
mommy and daddy gives them all these kids. So they're
Yeah.
they're fucked up, man. Those are your 20s. I feel bad. You guys are fucked up. So hopefully you listen to podcasts like this and you learn the way it should be and not listen to
Yes.
those other jackasses. But what's
Yeah,
happening
not
is,
everybody's going to make money on social media. Not everybody's going to be influential.
yeah,
Some will. That's the ones you're
but
watching. It might
but
not be you.
my point is you listen to them, you use steroids at 18, 19, 20 or 21, 20, and then you fuck up your HPTA. So now you're 25, you've got no testosterone levels. You got the testosterone levels of an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're fucked up. You're fucked up now. Congratulations. So now you're even worse than other your other peers. Your other peers are like 300, 400 testosterone levels at 25 years old. You're at like 80 or 90 testosterone levels where a
Yeah.
woman should be. So you see the problem. So this is another big reason why testosterone levels low. As you said, Mobster, they're having to go on TRT. And clinics are more than
In their
happy to
20s, man. Good grief.
they're more than happy to put them on TRT at that age. It used to be 10, 15 years ago, a doctor would tell a 25-year-old, no, I'm not putting you on TRT. You're too
Yeah.
young. Now a clinic, they're putting 25-year-olds on HGH, much less TRT. They're happy to put you on HGH and charge you $1,000 a month for HGH. They're happy. If you got the money, they got whatever you need. So look, it's fucked up, guys. It's really fucked up. And but look, at the end of the day, you control what you could control. All right. That's the beauty part of this. You could
Yes.
control what you could control. Um, and it's very, very important to do what you can. You're not going to avoid all these things we've talked about. Okay. You're not going to avoid it like magic, but you can go a long way at mitigating some of these issues instead of taking an approach of like, okay, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna, I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm gonna just spray my house full of pesticides. I'm gonna drink tap water that's not filtered. I'm going to eat food from restaurants and processed junk, and I'm gonna not, just stress myself out.
Here's the thing, Steve. I just want to interrupt you. Sorry. There's a thing where when you're younger, the idea of having kids is not necessarily number one on your radar. But we've seen too many examples of guys that kind of ignored this, fuck their hepta. We've told them that they're going to fuck their hepta. They've ignored it and gone ahead and done whatever the fuck they're going to do anyway. At a younger age, I worry about it when the time comes. Is typical. And in five, typically 10 years down the road, they're back on and they're properly, and I mean properly upset, like on the verge of tears upset, because they've now decided that this is the right time. They've just about managed to get out of there. They've got a house. They've literally found the girl, the partner that they're going to have kids with. And they've just come back from having their sperm count, and it's negligible. We had one example, and he was probably the most extreme example, where they couldn't find a number to count. And I think he got it from, I'm thinking of actually a supplement company owner, ironically, Steve, who'd screwed himself so badly. And he went on some crazy extreme baby making protocol and managed to get his numbers back to 1 million when it should be in the hundreds of millions. And was, thank fuck, it took him, I think, 5 years or something ridiculous, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. And just managed with 1 million, which is way less than it should be, it's like 1% of what you should be having. And then managed with IVF to have a child. And I've known people, I've talked about this on shows before, particularly the local IFBB Pride mentioned multiple times, and I'm not saying it's a secret because he's put this information out there, saying how painful and to a lesser degree how expensive it is for him and his wife to have managed to, with IVF, have their kids, and the amount of times it hasn't took, and the stress and aggravation, and how physically uncomfortable it is for his wife to have this whole impregnation business and putting the eggs in and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And you don't think about it when you're in your 20s. So listen, guys, it's super important. We talk about lifestyle stuff. We talk about sort of decisions outside of bodybuilding that actually, in this case, will affect your physique and your ability to train in the gym, etc. But specifically how you feel, and because of the course, majority of everyone's, how you feel as a man. So it's easy to put to one side when you're in your 20s. It is a head fuck and a half when you're in your mid 30s and suddenly life says something different to you. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Steve now,
Yeah.
I think, a little bit.
Yeah, let me just add
Yeah,
this. I had a
yeah,
parent
go
come
on.
to me like a week ago. They're like, "Man, Steve, my son, he was showing me the stuff he was looking at YouTube, like, and he's like, he showed me the stuff, and the kid was trying to tell me this is how things are, and it's just like propaganda. He's like, the parent was like, it's probably. I'm like, look, dude, you can't let your kid be educated from YouTube, you
No,
know?
it's a
And if
shame. It
he's
is.
listening to the dude on YouTube telling him that it's okay to use steroids at 20 years old, then, you know what I'm saying? Then he's lost. He's lost. It'd be like me and you at 20 having guys telling us, "Oh yeah, you got to run steroids at 21 years old or 18 years old." I mean, it's just
Mm.
you're going to be lost. So it's just you got to be the parent to your kids, guys, and you guys got to control what you could control. So let's talk about why test boosting on cycle is important. So we know on off cycle testosterone boosting
Yes, yes,
is very, very important. Obviously, you're coming off cycle, your testosterone levels are going to crash. It's got to bounce back. So, um, look, at the end of the day, just because you're on cycle doesn't mean you still won't benefit from high quality testosterone. And
yes,
testosterone and the supplements that we're going to talk about on the next segment, they not only do great things to boost testosterone levels, and we're going to talk about some of the studies that have shown this, but they also do other things. They also boost your heart health. They help balance cholesterol levels. They help balance other hormones like estrogen. Because what happens is estrogen levels, when they get too high, it's not going to allow testosterone levels to jump. And it's also going to cause other side effects. So it can help balance estrogen levels, these supplements. They do other things in the body. They help the cycle as a whole run better
yes.
because they
Yeah,
help bind to SHBG and increase free testosterone.
yeah.
They cause the other.
Prostate health, Steve, cum production, the actual fluid,
Yeah.
the
It'll
plumpness
help.
of your balls on
Yeah.
cycle.
So what happens when you run anabolic steroids, and I'll bring you in Mobster to take the segment home. But what happens is we talk about HBTA, your reproductive system. Your pituitary glands get shut down, they go dormant. So what happens is your balls, your Leydig cells aren't getting fed hormones. Okay. So they start shrinking, they turn into raisins, which is normal. It's not a big deal, but it does happen. And you know, when you run these supplements that we're going to talk about, several of these supplements, like Fedosia, for example, they will actually plump your balls up. As soon as you start taking it, if you've got raisin nuts, you'll notice after 3, 4 days, your balls will get larger and they'll get more plump. So that will do a lot of good things. It'll be good for your look, not just with the way you look, but it'll also
Yeah,
be good for your libido, the way you
yes.
feel, and it'll help you when you come off bounce back quicker because that's another aspect that people don't realize. If you can bounce back quicker after your cycle, that will help you keep more of your gains. Go ahead, Mobster. Finish out this
Yeah, I
segment
mean,
before we move on.
here's the thing, and again, it's one of those. I don't know why people tell me these things. I kind of do, but I had a conversation with a buddy that I sometimes train with in the gym just this week, Steve. Yesterday, Thursday, and he says, "I'm raging today." And I thought, what's happened? Is it stress? Is it aggravation? And I think there was a little bit of that going on, work related. Just come back from his honeymoon. He's literally been with her for 20 years and just got married. Super nice, etc. And he's a good fella, and he enjoys his sex life. Goes to work, does what he does, come home, has a bit of fun. That's been a regular thing for him. These are the kind of things that when you know your buddies well, they tell you. And he says it's weird, Steve. He says there's the whole amount of stuff that's being produced, and he means, of course, the cum, the actual fluid that the sperm goes around in, comes from your prostate, mixed in with your testicles, with the sperm produced, and that's what comes out at the end of your cock, to put it crudely. And the amount of cum production was down. So I talked about, again, just as we are now, the reason why sometimes it's a good idea to use a testosterone booster on cycle for the health. Here's how many times have you and I have seen guys come on the forum, and it's one of those things that they weren't prepared for. And it doesn't affect all of us, and it can be dose dependent. My balls shrink a little bit on cycle, but I've never gone down to the quote unquote raisins or peanut size that some people feel like they do. And that's probably an exaggeration, but even the male and female partners, and I'm talking about the gay, straight, etc., whatever, sexual partners, where the partner has commented on the size of their male partner's testicles. And it's a head fuck, Steve. The psychological stuff is a head fuck. Because for whatever reason, along with people's hairlines, some guys' sense of their own masculinity is tied up in the size of their testicles. Now, ironically, even though mine don't shrink, I don't care if my testicles shrink. My psyche is not tied up with the size of my testicles. But it's one of those things that for some people it is. And so the idea should be, and this is what we all want, the magic wand shit. We want to go in, grow like a weed, get as strong as fuck, have skin that's like tissue paper, veins all over the place, cross striations on our muscles, and fuck like it's going out of fashion. The reality is that if we take anabolics, for some of us, a good percentage of us, especially if we're using higher dosages, even just training really hard in the gym is going to affect your libido, especially when you're hungry, especially when you're competing, especially when you're on low carbs, especially when you've got stress and aggravation in life. So, what can we do to negate some of the worst side effects? If we can keep our balls plump, our psyche in some individuals is going to be improved. We're not going to get comments about the size of our fucking balls, our testicles, our bollocks from our sexual partners. Oh, your balls are smaller. Thank you, your fucking tits are fat. It's that weird situation. I don't need that negativity in my life. So the idea that our balls can stay plump, good. The idea that the fluid production stays relatively normal, great. So you're still enjoying yourself. There's still plenty of stuff coming out. The idea that, as Steve said, and this is probably the most important thing, that we recover quicker and that we feel better during recovery afterwards because we use a product with a good ratio of supplemental ingredients in it, like this product, post cycle has to be a must. And again, for the reasons that we started at the beginning of this show, piss poor diet, nutrient quality, lifestyle issues. We know, and this is off cycle again, Steve, and I'm talking about just the average Joe in the street. We know the effects that TRT, never mind testosterone production from a product like this, a testosterone boosting product, has improved some people's psyche, some people's mental outlook on life, and just the way that they walk around and hold themselves in terms of how they was before. So the idea that you can feel, quote unquote, more macho, more masculine, more alpha, more whatever the fuck you want to call it, on cycle and off cycle, holding your head up high, walking into the pub or the club with your chest out in front of you, whatever it is that you kind of enjoy from being, quote unquote, a man, this is something that you need to perhaps have a look at. And again, especially in the modern generation, because it's literally a proven fact that even if you disagree and argue with us about certain political things and things that the governments decide, you can go away and do these numbers. You can go back and check the numbers from the 50s, check the results. When we get, as Steve said, influencers that are having to go on TRT because they fucked up in your early 20s, we don't want you to make those mistakes. So there's a combination of factors here, reasons for doing these things on and off cycle. We're going to talk about these ingredients now. Some, as we said, think about what we're talking about when we talk about specific ingredients or supplemental ingredients, the benefits in your mind as to off cycle and in PCT, as well as on cycle, because of course of the crossover of those particular things. Back to you, Steve.
So HCGenerate is a product that has the best test boosting supplements. And the good thing about HCGenerate, instead of buying the ingredients separate, you can buy just HCGenerate, and it's got all the ingredients all in the formula. So that saves you money. Back in the old days, Mom, so I go to the vitamin shop next to my gym, and I go in there, and the owner, he was a cool dude. He was a cool dude. But I found
20
myself,
supplements, man. Yeah.
I
20.
would buy 8, 9, 10 supplements
Yeah.
just to get whatever I needed from whatever I was trying to accomplish, whether it be a testosterone booster or something to help me, with recovery or something to help
Yeah.
me with my cycle or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, the nice thing is that HCGenerate is around and it already has these products. So let's go over them, Mobster. The most popular ingredient, Fedosia agrestis, and it's one of the most popular testosterone boosters on earth. It's been used many years in bodybuilding. You could tell how good it works because even while on steroids, Fedosia will help boost your balls and make them larger. So I explained earlier what happens when you use hormones and why your balls shrink. So Fedosia will help keep your balls plump. So let's say you can let your balls shrink up halfway through the cycle, and then you start using Fedosia. You'll notice your balls start plumping back up within the first week on it. So that does make a difference. So it also does other good things. It boosts your sex drive and increases your testosterone levels naturally without interfering with your body's natural HBTA. So it's a great option to use both on and off cycle. Mobster, feel free to jump in on any of these.
Yeah, I mentioned to Steve in the pre-show. I want you guys to listen to the ingredients and specifically compare like with like. We've done a show on a similar product about organ protecting, and I challenged the listener. I'm going to challenge the listener again today, Steve. I did some pre-show research for that particular product, and here in the United Kingdom, I picked the best three plus one really crappy one products that were comparable, and there was no comparison. We're literally just discussing the top ingredients, the top supplemental ingredients that have been added to this product. I challenge you to compare this product overall against the other available testosterone boosting products on the market, specifically in terms of the ratio of ingredients, how many ingredients, the benefits of those ingredients, the quality, the where they've come, whether they're standardized, and the effective dosing in milligrams, etc., or whatever of those ingredients. And I want you to hold them up against other products and tell me if there's a comparison, because I don't think there is. These two particular products, this one, HCGenerate, and the other one I'm thinking of, Steve, the products here that we had in the United Kingdom were half or less in terms of dosaging, in terms of ingredient products, quality of ingredient, and so on and so forth. I want you to look at this, listen to what we're talking about with regards to ingredients, and I want you to compare them for the numbers I've just said, the way that I've just said it, to other comparable products. So again, Steve, as you said, boosting your sex drive, plumping your balls, that's got to be great. Fenugreek is another excellent supplement because studies have shown that 90%, that is a big number, guys, of people who took 500 milligrams of it per day saw a 46%, very close to half again, increase in testosterone after 12 weeks. Another study showed that after 8 weeks, men who took it and also lifted weights, again, healthy lifestyle guys, healthy diets, at the same time saw a whopping, you're going to love this, guys, 98.7 increase in free testosterone levels. Note what Steve talked about before. Steve, explain why free testosterone is so important, because we touched on this in other shows.
So you have total testosterone and you have free testosterone. So total testosterone don't mean shit. It's free testosterone that matters. That's the only testosterone that actually makes a difference. So you want to make sure your free testosterone is always humming at a bigger ratio versus your total testosterone. So say it's a 9-to-1 ratio where your total testosterone levels are at 500 and your free testosterone is at 50 nanograms per deciliter. Let's just make that an example. That's roughly, it's anywhere from 8 to 11-to-1 ratio, right? So if you can get that ratio in your favor and get that free testosterone up to 60 or 70 and your total testosterone stays at 500, for example, then you're going to get a lot more benefits than raising your total testosterone levels 50 points and keeping your free testosterone where it is. It's not going to make a difference. So free testosterone is what matters. So that's why fenugreek is such a good one. And then by having free testosterone higher, that opens up your entire cycle and it opens your PCT up, because now during PCT, your free testosterone is higher and you're able to better keep your gains, your strength, and your mass in the process. So it's very, very important to have that. The next one we're going to talk about is vitamin E. And this is something where mobsters people struggle with. And a lot of people struggle with vitamin D, and they struggle with certain vitamins in different parts of the world because of the lack of sun. So mobster, talk about vitamin E a little bit.
There's multiple uses for this, Steve, ironically. So, for example, I'll just read the blurb here, Steve, and we'll talk about it. An important supplement for testosterone levels because it does 4 different things. It helps produce sex steroid hormones in the first place. Again, this is in your body, guys, which are needed to increase testosterone levels. If you don't have healthy numbers of this vitamin, then your testicular activity will be suppressed. We want our balls to be working as best as possible in the first place. Third, it helps with reversing environmental toxicity, literally the stresses and aggravations, the crappy diet, the pollution in your atmosphere, and so on, that we're exposed to, and reducing, but which can reduce their testosterone levels. And finally, it helps to protect our Leydig cells, which are important because they would directly product testosterone or protect testosterone in the first place. Look, guys, there's other actual benefits here, Steve, not included, for whether that's supple skin, anti-aging, and again, some of this comes down to not varied enough diet and so on and so forth. And I think there's a big anti-aging aspect here, Steve, for some listeners. And again, that's poor diet, stress and aggravation, being around pollution all the time, stuff
Yeah.
that's drying your skin out, etc., etc. That's above and beyond that. And of course, here we're talking about specifically testosterone boosting. What do you think on
There,
the vitamin E
yeah,
there, Steve?
and vitamin E is interesting because it's there was a study done in Egypt, and it was a breakthrough study where they actually were able to increase fertility levels in men,
Mm,
and through using vitamin E and using Clomid together. So vitamin E is a very, very important vitamin that people aren't getting enough of, and it's very essential to having healthy levels of testosterone. And it's been found. So some of the foods, almonds, sunflower seeds, avocado,
yes.
things like spinach, broccoli, asparagus, lots of
I, I,
greens.
I was bearing in mind the topic of conversation, Steve. I was going to say healthy nut oils, but that's almost a tongue-in-cheek joke.
Well, at the end of the day, certain fruits like mango
Yeah.
and even things like eggs. So a lot of these foods people aren't getting enough of. And
No,
we certainly don't get enough in your country, Mobster, and we certainly don't get
no,
enough in
no.
America at all. Some people listening to this out there, a lot of your relatives, maybe a sibling, parent, aunt, uncle, whatever, they get none of these foods. So they're not getting any vitamin E at all.
We sell
Spinach,
more nuts here, Steve, at Christmas time than any other time of year. Ironically, the vegans and the vegetarians listening to this podcast are probably getting more than the average Joe in the street. So, ironically, they're actually getting more out of this than the rest of us. When was the last time you went and bought? You might, maybe, Steve, but when was the last time the listener went out and bought a bag of dry, hand-picked, different kind of nuts and had
yep,
them just at home as a snack
yep.
instead of, say, chips or crisp or something?
I buy them online
You
in
do, yeah, I
bulk.
know you
I
do. That's
buy
what I was going to say.
so I
Yeah,
mean what I do is I cycle them. So it's important to cycle, So but I definitely get in greens every single day. If I'm eating, unless I'm
yeah, yeah.
fasting, greens, broccoli, spinach, asparagus,
I make
Swiss
a point
chard,
of it now. Yeah,
turnips, all this stuff. That's very, very important. So that boosts your testosterone levels.
yeah.
And, look, at the end of the day, if you're just eating steak and beef and stuff like that, that's not where you're going to be able to get your vitamin E. That's not where you're going to get vitamin E. So you got to eat your veggies. You got to eat your veggies. I tell people this all the time. Fruits also have lots of vitamin E. Really, the only meat that has vitamin E is fish. And fish, again, it's got to be wild fish. So again, we're lacking in this in America. We're lacking in your country, Mobster, but we're definitely lacking in America more than anything. And so
How often, guys, if you go on the forums, you will see, myself included, where we're running 1 to 2 grams. I think some 3 grams, 1 to 2 grams personally, of fish oils every single goddamn day for those the kind of benefits. Heart benefits, skin benefits, anti-aging, and specifically, as we're talking about here, testosterone boosting, Steve. Let me talk about here zinc, Steve. Look, I've talked about this multiple times. It's almost, even if you don't know much about testosterone boosting, a lot of you will know that zinc boosts testosterone. I'll read this out to you guys, and then I'll talk about a little side story that I've told before. Zinc is an essential mineral that we need to both build muscle, because it's actually part of the protein uptake and nutrient uptake, specifically protein in the muscle building process. Helps regulate our hormones. The correlation between men with low testosterone levels and low zinc cannot be overstated. Bottom line, if you aren't getting proper levels of zinc, you will not be able to produce testosterone at all. It even helps with healing, Steve. I believe it's one of the things that helps with scar tissue. Now, let me tell you this side story, which I've told before, almost funny. And I said, this is how I'd read about dosing for a very short period of time, tripling the dose. I think the daily dose is somewhere between 5 and 8 milligrams. It's not a huge amount. But if you haven't used zinc as a supplement for a long period of time, this is the little thing that I'd read, and then I went and told two buddies about it. So they weren't supplement users. I said, guys, it is regular Saturday night Johnnies going out there and grabbing their girls and having as much fun as young men are supposed to do. I said, can I tell you something? And you guys can prove this theory He said, go over. And so we're upstairs having a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, whatever, bullshitting as you do with the younger guys at the work job I was doing at the time. So I said, I've just been reading about zinc. A little bit every day, great. But if you've not used it for a while, take 2 or 3 times the normal dose, so 15 milligrams, say, 3 pills instead of 1 pill. And for a couple of days, by the weekend, your cum production, again, this is the fluid, will go fucking mental until your body gets used to the zinc that you've just put in. So basically, you will have a really fantastic, like a fucking porno star Saturday night compared to the normal levels of fluid that you're producing. You'll be impressed. Hopefully, the young lady will be impressed. It eases off. It's not a long-term thing. You can't take it forever and keep producing buckets and buckets of cum, but you will produce more than you normally would until the body gets used to it. It's only a short-term thing or whatever else. They go off. Yeah, whatever. They go away. Lo and behold, they go to the supplement shop, Steve. They get some zinc. They do this for a few days. Weekend. Oh my fucking God. Jesus fucking Christ. What the hell, mobster? What the hell? Again, doesn't work long term, guys, but just to show you the connection, the importance of that varied diet, of the protein, of the fish, of the zinc in a testosterone booster, and its effects. Now, of course, as I said, it's a short-term boost in the way that I've described, but the long-term effectiveness, the connection between zinc and testosterone boosting is almost, I would say, 99% of our listeners will know that it's a part of a good testosterone booster. Again, and I want to emphasize this point now, Steve, before we move on to the next ingredient, correct dosages and the synergy of these supplemental ingredients in combination with each other, the synergy, how they all work together to give you the overall boosting effect that we described, not just, as we said already, on cycle, but off cycle too. So you can't, and literally the phrase that comes, I'll repeat the phrase again, Steve. The correlation between men with low testosterone levels and low zinc cannot be overstated. It's that important. I need to say it again because it's just how important zinc is. It's super cheap as well, guys. Never mind the combination of the other ingredients. It's dead
Yeah.
easy for the
But you
to
can't,
get hold of. And like
but you
some of these
can't,
are
yeah,
hard.
you can't run too much zinc either. So you got to run the perfect amount. So HCGenerate, the good thing about HCGenerate is they have the perfect amount in it. So in conjunction with your diet, which should be, already having good quality, things like good quality eggs, certain nuts like cashews, certain seafood has uh, zinc, lentils, chickpeas.
Grass fed beef, free range chicken, free
Yeah,
range
some,
duck.
yeah. It does have some as well. So it's very, very important to be getting the right amount of zinc. You don't want to supplement too much zinc because that won't do you any good either. So you want to use the right amount. So it's very important. Next one we're talking about is 3,4-Devinol. So 3,4-Devinol does something very, very important. It supplements, it does boost free testosterone by binding to SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin. So this will not only help you have higher free testosterone cycle, but more importantly, it'll help you during your PCT milk every last ounce of testosterone as possible. When your testosterone levels come down and they crash, 3,4-Devinol will be there for you. And this is very, very important. This is going to help you recover quicker. It's going to help you keep your muscle. It's going to help you keep your strength both on and off cycle. So it's a very, very important supplement they added to HCGenerate. Next one is Tribulus terrestris. Probably top 3 most popular
Yeah,
supplements that guys are
yeah.
taking. And it hasn't been directly shown to boost testosterone, but it does help it indirectly because it has something called saponins. And this increases sex hormone DHT in the body. So this will help you build more muscle and more strength. And it works in great synergy with the other supplements on this list. So
Let me jump
indirectly,
in.
it's going to,
Let me
yeah.
jump. Let me jump in here, Steve. I've actually discussed this multiple times, guys. I'm going to bring this up again. 2 things, 2 aspects. One was the original research that was done on Tribulus back in the day, which was when these tests by the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, got better or worse, depending on your point of view, at discovering whether or not you use PEDs as an Olympic athlete to increase your ability to kick ass and win gold medals in the Olympic Games. So the Bulgarians at that time, part of the whole Eastern Bloc, went away and looked for, bearing in mind the Eastern Bloc was notorious, way more than the Americans, Steve, or any other country that might have used PEDs, for giving PEDs with and without their knowledge to their athletes. So the tests were starting to catch people out, including the Eastern Bloc athletes. So they wanted something that they could use with their athletes off cycle, which is what we're talking about here again, PCT, as well as testosterone boosting. And they went away and done a bunch of research. We've talked about the scarcity of some ingredients, the quality of some ingredients, and I'm going to touch on that as well in a moment. So they found a product and a plant, obviously Tribulus terrastris, the Latin name, that was able to boost somewhat the off-cycle, in-between cycle, lower amounts of PEDs, etc., that they had their athletes on, quite naturally. The only issue, and I've discussed this on other shows, which I don't believe HCGenerate is going to be a part of, was when everybody else got to hear about it, everybody else, and when I say everybody else, I mean all the other athletes, and certainly supplement companies, wanted to get their hands on the leaf, on the product, the stem, the seed, the plant, whatever, where Tribulus came from. There was a bunch of issues. Not every single version or variant of this plant is as good as the ones the Bulgarians were using. You can't use, you wanted the highest quality leaf, you wanted it from a certain part of the world, and the saponins that Steve mentioned needs to be of a minimum, what we tend to call standardized level. It could be more per leaf, per plant, whatever ingredient you're talking about here, but it can't be less. So let's say, for argument's sake, in this example, it needed to be standardized to at least, I think it's something with 20 to 23% saponins. It has to be that. Can't be less because you're going to get less benefits. So one of the things that you should look at when they talk about all the ingredients in HCGenerate is where it's important. You should look at whether it's standardized or non-standardized. Some companies will use non-standardized, which means you've got no idea of how potent that ingredient is going to be. They might have got lucky, but they probably won't have done. Because they bought non-standardized ingredients, those ingredients will be cheaper. They haven't been tested to at least a standardized extract or level of saponins, as in this example. Different times of year when that plant's available. Something that's grown in a greenhouse in the wintertime versus naturally on the slopes of a mountain, for example. We've talked about how explorers would go around the world and find certain tribes whose virility was off the scale. What are you guys eating? That's an amazing. I've never seen this plant before. Take it back. English, American explorers, Spanish explorers, Jesus Christ, Steve, this stuff's amazing. Whether it's tobacco, whether it was potatoes, or whether it was a testosterone boosting plant that the local natives were producing. So you start to do this stuff, and then we started to look at things from the Brazilian jungle, Steve, places, tribes that had never been found before, and what were they eating, what were they doing, what healing plants were they using, etc., etc. And over the 200 or 300 years that we all was out there exploring the world, we started to see these things. Some of these things are only available at certain times of year. Some of these things are only available at certain qualities at certain times of year, and a lower quality the rest of the year. So sometimes it's difficult to source these ingredients. It can be expensive. There are other companies that are bidding on the futures market to get this ingredient. I want a product that's available to me in 3 months. I need 10 tons. I can't have 5 tons, and so on and so forth. We've seen, certainly in the past, where products HCGenerate were producing, should I say need to build muscle were producing, included HCGenerate, were out of stock while they waited for the ingredient to become available and for the formulation company to put this product together for them and produce it in sufficient quantities to make it sellable to you, the listener. So make sure when we're looking at Tribulus, you're looking at the best form, the standardized form, and it's not just for Tribulus, but others as well, Steve. And again, as Steve said, I would probably put this in the top 3, if not, so maybe even the top 2 of most well-known testosterone boosting ingredients, Steve. So I think another one which we're about to talk about, and I'll bring Steve in for this, Tonga Ali, Steve.
This one was shown in a 1-month study to increase testosterone levels to normal levels with 90% of older men who are suffering from low testosterone levels. So imagine what it will do for you.
Yes.
If it's going to even help older men. Another 5-week study showed it helped young and middle-aged men improve testosterone levels.
Everybody, yeah.
So this is a really, really good one, and that's a great addition to the formula as well. The last one is boron citrate, and this is a natural element that helps regulate testosterone levels. 2 studies done on men showed that when taking this supplement, they had an increase in plasma testosterone and an increase in free testosterone. So this is great both on cycle and off cycle as well. So all these ingredients, they work together in synergy to give you a really good effect. And you'll notice when you're on it, whether you're on cycle, PCT, in between cycles, or you just don't use steroids at all, you're just looking for something to boost your testosterone levels, you'll have really, really good results using this product, HCGenerate. So let's talk about how much HCGenerate to use, Mobster. So look, HCGenerate, it's designed to be run 5 caps per day. So each bottle is going to last you a month if you're going to do 5 caps a day. But you don't have to do 5 caps a day.
No.
What people usually like to do is they'll split up the dosing. You can do 2 or 3 caps in the morning, 2 to 3 caps in the PM. So you could do 4 caps, you could do 6 caps, you could do, as long as you're getting at least 2 or 3 caps, you're good. So 5 caps is what you want to aim for. That's the serving size. Another strategy is before the bedroom or gym activities. You can run it 5 caps, 1 to 2 hours prior, and that will give you an added boost. So you could do all 5 at one time that way. So that you'll notice if you're taking it before the gym a couple hours, you'll notice more aggression in the gym. You'll notice more energy in the gym. Before the bedroom, you'll notice the same thing: more energy, more effects, more erection, more everything's good, more power. So that would be the benefits. These are supplements that they've been using to help with the bedroom for hundreds of years, like in Africa and stuff. Decades, long time. During PCT.
Steve, we've had members on the forum come on and say, guys, I've listened to your show. I thought you were bullshitting. I did this the other day before bed, meaning sex, obviously. And I thought you was full of shit, guys. But yeah, it works. So, and this is completely unsolicited, Steve, just random posts or threads or whatever else where they've gone and tried this in the way that they thought we were talking shit. We were just talking about our products, and they've gone and given it a try, and they were fucking surprised, to say the least, and had a great time. So yeah, definitely, you check that out for that particular reason. Steve, let's talk about where to buy it, which is from needtobuildmuscle.com. But I want to talk about the company a little bit. I'll bring Steve in now, and I'll talk about this as well, the guys behind the company and why they produce the products that they produce in the way that they produce them. So I'll let you start, Steve.
So N2BM started really small company, 2 individuals. One was former Army, another one who was a working class immigrant. And they got tired of using bad products designed for old people, because that's what most supplements are. They're just not going to do, especially testosterone boosters. Testosterone boosters are not designed for guys who use steroids. They're not designed for those of us who've been exposed to all these chemicals and stuff, who our reproductive system has taken a beating. So they founded the company on the principle of providing high quality customer service and supplements. The most important thing they wanted is their products to cater to only the most hardcore individuals. So that's what it's designed for. We're talking about hardcore training, hardcore diet, hardcore steroids, hardcore everything. You're hardcore, you're serious about this. This is what these supplements are designed for. 99% of supplements out there don't do shit. They don't do shit.
No, and if Steve, can I jump? I want to jump into a second, and I think this is really an important point here, right? So imagine there's a new ingredient, a new supplement. We all start reading about this online. The data says fantastic things. The study comes out with amazing results. What do supplement companies do? What do almost 90%, I would argue, stay the supplement companies? And I think specifically of the 2 biggest supplement stores in this country when I say this, right? So this ingredient comes out. It's expensive to source. It needs to be standardized. Companies will all jump on because they want to sell it. This is the latest thing. This is going to make us loads of money. But put the least amount, the absolute least we can put into our product, they will do that. Like 1% when they need 5%. Non-standardized, because non-standardized is cheaper than standardized. These are all the Me Too products, Steve, that we see all the time. I've seen companies, and I'm thinking again, as I say, of these 2 biggest supplement store brand leaders, whatever you want to call them, in the United Kingdom. They've also got one part of that is a huge American company as well. And they will sell you what they call a month's supply for $3 or $5 or whatever the fuck. And then you go and look at the pill. And I'm thinking of glucosamine sulfate, a great joint product, a great joint ingredient. And it'll say, oh, it's a month's supply. Like, well, okay. So in the study, the ingredient should have been used at 1,500 milligrams. And this proved to be the most effective dose per the study for 90% of users to get great results. And then you go and look at this cheap version, which is genuine glucosamine sulfate, but it's 300 milligrams, one pill per day. Well, hang on, in the study, it was 1,500 milligrams. So what the fuck is 300 milligrams going to do for me? Nothing. Of course it's cheap because it's a week's version of some. I'd need to take the whole damn bottle in a week versus a month. So you look at companies like Need to Build Muscle and the two guys involved, and they saw this was happening in the marketplace. They realized this is what supplement companies were doing. They understood that, you know, not every fat burner or not every pre-workout can be the strongest known to the market. And yet that's the claim that almost all these companies are making. When it comes to joint products, it needs to have an effective dose. When it comes to testosterone boosting ingredients and supplemental ingredients, like we're talking about here, it has to be this kind of source. It can't be that version of it. It must be this version. It must be standardized. It must come from the right place. That makes certain products, certain ingredients expensive, and the price can go up and down during the year. And these guys said, fuck that shit. We're going to make a properly ingredient, properly profiled, properly standardized what it needs to be from the right part of the plant. And sometimes that's going to be difficult for them to do, but they went ahead and done it. They weren't trying to become millionaires and driving around the throats. I've literally repped for a company, Steve, and I even slightly teased them about this back in the day. Still a good bunch of guys, but you went online and Google Earth their company, and there was a Lamborghini in the car park, a lime green Lamborghini, right? Which one of you motherfuckers owns a Lamborghini? They made themselves successful, and they're still good guys, but they've gone and done the sports car thing. So in other words, you made some money, you bought the rich Italian, the expensive Italian sports car. Is it about the money or is it about the product? Is it about making money, looking good, or do you actually give a goddamn fuck that your products are properly dosed and effective? Here's the thing, and a part of this comes, and I'm thinking specifically, but they train. Both these guys worked out. They actually wanted a product that would make their testosterone boost. They wanted to feel better in the gym. And they were looking at the other products and said they weren't really doing much. They were too many Me Too and not actually effective products. Talk about that part as well specifically, Steve. And then, of course, the quality customer service and how they are with individuals and other supplements they produce.
Yeah, and they've been around a long time, and they've always modernized their products. HCGenerate over time has improved over time. They've gotten better ingredients. They've swapped some things in and out, but overall, it's stayed the same thing where they've put together the top supplements for
Yes.
boosting testosterone levels in the end of the day. But the synergy and the way they dose them is
Yes.
perfect. And that can't be, overstated the way they put them together to make sure that everything. So I'm going to go over before we finish up, Mom. So let me go over how much of it is in each, just so you understand. So vitamin E, 30 IU, zinc, 7 milligrams, Fedosia, 1,000 milligrams, fenugreek, 1,000 milligrams, 3,4-Devinol, 500 milligrams, Tribulus,
Good.
500 milligrams,
Good.
Tonkat Ali, 100 milligrams, and boron, I'm sorry, not borat, 100 milligrams. Your boy Borat. We love
You're
Borat.
thinking of Tonga. Yeah. I know Borat.
So look, at the end of the day, look, you look at these other supplement testosterone boosters, they have
Less
shit ingredients.
dosage.
They
Yep.
have they have way less dosing. Way less dosing. They don't do shit for you. They've got 1,000 milligrams each of Fedosia and fenugreek, 500 milligrams each of 3,4-Devinol and Tribulus. That's a
On
lot.
its own. On its own, the
Yep.
500
And the
milligrams will give
vitamin
you.
E that they're giving you is 100% of what you're supposed to get in a day. So you're covered with the
Yes.
vitamin E. The zinc is half of what you're supposed to get in a day. So zinc, take an HCGenerate combined with what you should be eating as your proper
Yes.
diet, you'll be
Yes.
getting more
Yes.
than enough
Get your
zinc.
greens in.
Yeah. And then the same thing with tongkanali and boron. You're getting 100 milligrams of boron. Perfect amount. So this is the perfect formula and perfect synergy. And if you buy these ingredients on their own, it's going to
Oh,
cost you a
good
lot
grief.
of money.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
If you could find the high quality supplements that they put in. So this is a great product, Mobster. So
I would say that if you bought these ingredients separately, guys, as a supplement, it probably cost you 3 times the value of this product. And they've done all the work for you. And listen, guys, it's super important that you use these products on and off cycle. Talk about your experience. Have you struggled with PCT? Have you struggled with keeping your muscle? Talk about your own testosterone levels, mistakes that perhaps you've made, as well as obviously using products to correct those mistakes. We want to know what your thoughts are. In the comments below, come onto the forums and discuss your experience, and specifically even that little sexual activity stuff. Did you try it the way we talked about? Please note, we are not doctors and the opinions are ours. It is our view and based on our experience and views on the topic. A podcast for informational purposes, entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.